Tgrade, decentralized finance in a self-sovereign regulated environment. Decentralized and regulatory compliant. Too good to be true. 1. Intro. 2. What are the intentions of regulation? 3. What needs to be in place to facilitate regulatory compliance? 4. Is there a solution that addresses this? 5. How does this evolve? We believe a public permissioned blockchain, a self-sovereign permissioned blockchain, could be a potential solution to create a framework for regulatory compliance in finance. The framework behind it is a decentralized social organization, DSO, where there is a human interpretation of rules and information coupled with strong governance. This mechanism is fully self-sovereign, allowing groups to form based on residency or place of registration. Self-sovereign identity, a key part in establishing in which jurisdiction a person or business belongs, is managed by the self-sovereign groups through a governance process which has a system of incentives and punishments to ensure integrity of the validation process. What are the intentions of regulation? The intent of the regulations is key in determining what structures need to be put in place to support them, rather than examining the implementation in each regulatory regime. The first principle is that although a fully decentralized platform knows no boundaries, the regulators care about people and organizations within their jurisdiction. This is why the self-sovereign identity mechanisms are imperative to establish residency and link it to the blockchain addresses. While the decentralized world without boundaries allows anyone to trade with anyone. But it doesn't mean that because you can do something, you should. One compelling argument for financial regulations is to ensure fair and transparent markets, investor protection, mitigate fraud, and the mechanism to stem the flow of money from the proceeds of crime. In a wholly unregulated, free-for-all market, there are no checks, and we see unfair markets with asymmetric information, scam projects, and investors losing money in products they don't fully understand. There is clearly a balance in the construction of systems between one with a defined set of rules and open access with no constraints. In the context of decentralized systems, we see that it is possible to have a decentralized structure with multiple self-sovereign groups, each of which manage their own rule sets. There are parallels in commons, where there are rules set around how commons resources are used and managed, with the rulemaking as close to the end users as possible. For further reading on commons, please read Governing the Commons by Elinor Ostrom. The commons model is an attractive target model for self-sovereign groups. The investigation of the flow of money and assets derived from the proceeds of crime in the traditional market requires a lot of collection of data from all the participants involved in finance, as well as requiring the participants to collect data from their customers. The beauty of blockchain is that the regulators and the financial crime investigation units have access to the data and can track the flow of funds without collecting it from each of the participants as a matter of routine. The self-sovereign identity management process makes it possible to include ultimate beneficiary information where appropriate, or ask questions about the source of wealth. What needs to be in place to facilitate regulatory compliance? Beginning with identity and associating an address with a person or institution, which is done by the self-sovereign group. We have the foundation to associate relevant information about a person or institution. As part of the identity management, the information collected is not only verifiable identity, but for institutions proof that they have the required license and permits. For individuals, this could also be the basis of enhanced KYC, such as understanding the source of wealth and assessing the individual's appetite for risk and knowledge of instruments. The self-sovereign proposer then submits the proposal as part of the governance processes, which is decided by voting. The self-sovereign group, based on the rights allocated, have then determined who can transaction with whom and for which assets. Now, there's a self-sovereign group established. The next step is to ensure the fair and transparent markets. The disclosure of financially sensitive information is the responsibility of the issuer and should be sent to all channels at the same time. The design of the marketplace should remove the ability for wash trades or spoofing to occur. This is through zero-knowledge exchanges or periodic auctions. There's also an element of self-policing. As the self-sovereign group have verified each other, if there are members of this group who indulge in poor behavior, the other participants of the group have an interest in censoring the poor behavior through governance mechanisms as part of the group's rules or dispute resolution mechanisms. Having a self-sovereign group that have done AML checking as part of the verification processes, there are further actions that can be taken. The boundaries of the group is where the AML processes need to be in place. One route is to link a profile to an address. The profiles can be a set of standard profiles rather than an individual one which categorizes the level of activity and amounts that are normal. These profiles are then used as references against which the transactions are checked. The issue then is what to do with flagged transactions and who are these reported to in a very automated system. Another more radical solution is to only permit send transactions through a smart contract which has AML processes embedded into it. This can be achieved through the self-sovereign permission management, where send transactions are blocked for all participants, but the same smart contract is permitted. There is also the argument that the AML is the responsibility of the institutions and part of their wider off-chain processes and procedures and does not belong on-chain. Is there a solution that addresses this? There have been a number of initiatives to create enterprise solutions in finance that have the infrastructure for institutions to be regulatory compliant, and projects like Corda or Quorum, which was spun out of JP Morgan and is now run by Consensus. As these are private chains, there's a question around the decentralized nature and who really controls the network. The public and permissionless blockchains have not got the infrastructure to build self-sovereign groups natively. There's also a libertarian mindset among the crypto blockchain communities around the choice of the individual being more important, and effort is put into ensuring finance is fully decentralized, thus ensuring that it cannot be regulated. How does this evolve? In the journey of creating frameworks to facilitate regulatory compliance, this sets the landscape for orderly and fair markets, and the participants who understand the risks of the assets they trade in. Building on this framework, we can see that the self-sovereign group demonstrating the strong oversight on what happens in the group is the emergence of trust and credibility. Establishing a mechanism of trust, this becomes self-reinforcing, where individuals and investors select the self-sovereign groups, which have a higher reputation. You can find out more information on Tgrade on our website, our Twitter, our Medium article, and our LinkedIn. Thank you everybody for listening.